How is Harvard's development compared to Patrick Jones and Rashad?
You know, everyone's a little bit different in terms of their development, but I think there's a comparable trajectory when you look at those guys. And as his knowledge of the game has continued to grow, his production has continued to increase. And a lot of the things that you're seeing him do is because he's narrowed down the possible plays to 1, 2, maybe 3 options based on what he's seen pre-snap. So it's where he's really grown. Obviously, he's developed physically and all those things, but his knowledge over the course of the last 12 months has really spiked as his production has matched that.
Is it rewarding for you to see him grow from the kid that was down in Clearwater and doing backflips and just this kind of raw athletic kid to now?
Yeah, that's the juice in coaching, right? When you see someone come in and come a long way as a young man or as a player, it's what makes you proud. It's why we do what we do, 100%.
Keyshawn will be done after this year. Deslin still has a choice. What can you say about the development and just their presence on the team this year?
Yeah, just the way they approach every single day has an effect on the room. They really are at a point now in their career where they act, behave, and prepare like professionals. And they kind of mandate that. They do mandate that from the rest of the group. And you can't be grateful enough for 2 guys that operate in that fashion because it forces the other guys to prepare as close to that as they can based on their level of maturity. And, again, we'll see what happens with Dez. I'm really proud of the career that Keyshawn has had through everything that he's had to deal with, and hope nothing but the best for him these last few games as we move forward.
Charlie Pat told us yesterday that you guys are preparing for Armstrong. What is that preparation like when you watch some of the things that he does on tape?
He's a dynamic player. I mean, obviously we all know the rankings of their offense and what he's capable of doing with his arm and with his feet. His toughness is as good as any you'll see in a quarterback in terms of his willingness to take a hit, his willingness to throw with pressure right in his face, and you can feel his intelligence. You know, Virginia does a lot on offense, and you have to have a quarterback that can manage that. And not only does he manage it, he's able to do that and produce, like I said, both with his arm and his feet.
How elusive is he in that pocket?
You know, he's a guy that really can burn you if you're not great with your lanes. That's what we're talking about coming off the practice field. You know, when we get the opportunity to be aggressive in terms of trying to rush the passer, we got to be really smart. And you know, thankfully, we're kind of 2 weeks in a row with what we faced last week in North Carolina in terms of where we must be sound with our lanes or we'll pay for it. It's similar this week.
How much confidence does that give your guys with the performance that you had against North Carolina, against a quarterback like that who can escape?
Yeah, I think every week is a little bit different. You know, I think the guys are proud of what we were able to accomplish last week and something we can build on. But every week presents a new challenge, and Virginia presents a lot of different ones than North Carolina did. And North Carolina presented a lot of them. You know, Virginia, there's so many formations, so many different personnel groups that they force you to be really cerebral in terms of how you prepare, what you call, where the kids align, what you're seeing, all those things. So a little bit of a different challenge, but certainly helps us in terms of confidence in how we'll respond lane-wise.
When it comes to the cerebral nature of it, I mean, Haba, Deslin, John, these guys are even inside. You have a lot of older guys who've seen a lot. How much does that help knowing that, you know, in this week of preparation for an offense like that?
Yeah, it certainly makes a big difference because you come in on a Tuesday and you're really presenting the game plan with feeding them a little bit leading into Tuesday, but you really present the whole thing to them, and there's always a lot on the table, but I think we're able to do a little bit more up front. You kind of tailor how much you do game plan wise based on your group, and right now because of the experience in the room, we're able to do a lot of different things, so that makes a huge difference in what we're able to do schematically.
How about Virginia's running game?
Yeah, they're physical running backs. I think this is one of the better O-lines we'll see. I mean, their tackles 167, 110 in terms of how they're listed. I think their right guard, number 69, and I complimented him this way. If you guys remember Mike Herndon, I described him to the guys as he's Mike Herndon strong. And you know, the older guys certainly knew what that meant, and their eyebrows went up. And their center's really aggressive, number 55, and this is a physical group. You know, they certainly like to throw the ball, but their run game is a physical. You know, it certainly demands your attention.
With Keyshawn missing some time, how do you think like Tyler and Devin did in their?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Devin had a really nice play on an outside zone that was coming our side. They were really stout in the double teams, which was critical last week. I'll put those guys in those positions. Tyler Bentley forced a hold there on the last drive, which is critical as he was working to tear away from a block. You know, those 4 D tackles that played for us primarily in Keyshawn's absence, I thought all of them did a nice job. You know, those 2, David Green played really well, along with obviously Collagia. I'm happy with what we have there depth-wise moving forward, and we anticipate Keyshawn being back this week.
What have you seen from Collagia and just his development this season?
He's making smart choices, not just taking risks to take a risk. And that comes with growth. He's gotten so much stronger physically. Obviously the one play, I think it was a Tennessee that he came around and ran through the running back. Was at the Tennessee game. That put it on display for everybody. Was it Virginia Tech? So, but there's a couple plays this last week where he got his hands into the center, was able to get some really good knockback, which, the untrained eye doesn't necessarily see that. And a lot of people see Collagia as undersized and quick, but his power and his explosion have really shown time and time again throughout the course of this season. That's where I've seen the biggest development, to be honest.
You mentioned Keyshawn being back. How nice is it to have him back for senior day?
Yeah, again, like what I said before, I couldn't be happier for what he's been through, what he's been able to accomplish, what he's done in this program, and I really hope he has some explosive games here these last few games as we keep working forward through the season.
Charlie, you mentioned undersized. You've had a couple of defensive linemen that are undersized that have performed very. Why does that happen? Why do you think these guys have had success not being the build?
Sure, I think there's a couple reasons. One, our system certainly is a little bit tailored more towards the quicker interior guys. We designed some things that allow those guys to not have to deal with double teams for too long. If they stay on double teams too long, you're going to see Voss and those guys certainly show up quickly and have those guys make the opportunity for TFLs. And Voss has done a great job in there in terms of helping with that also. But, it's a combination of system and those guys buying into technique. You've really got to be a technician if you're undersized and get your strength to a point where you can take on someone who outweighs you by anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds, because at times that's legitimate. Collagia's anywhere from 270 to 280, and he's facing guys that are 330, 340. So that weight differential is legit. So he's got to play with great technique, and obviously he's gotten really strong in the weight room. His numbers in terms of his lifts are something that will match up with anybody. Combine that with if his quickness can turn into explosion, which ties in the technique part of it. I don't want to bore you to death, but all those things tie in together and allows him to play with leverage and get after a guy combined with the system.
Yeah, you have an older group, but you have 4 true freshmen that people are excited about coming in. How have guys like Elliott and Nakai done this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited about their development and their approach of the game. Elliott comes in and asks me to watch practice film with him, which over the course of my years, there's only you can count on inside of 2 hands how many guys have done that in their redshirt year. So proud of the trajectory of him. Nakai's worked really hard. That's a guy who has certainly a bright future. Dorian Ford needed to lose a little bit of weight since he got here, and he has. He's lost 20, 25 pounds. He's moving better. His stance, they're working on all those baseline things, and the future for those guys is very bright.
I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but you said goodbye to a lot of seniors in your time here. What's it like for you as a coach after being with these guys, so much time, just to say,
yeah, it's
off into the world.
It's bittersweet, right? I tell my daughters this. I tell my daughters, I'm not your friend, I'm your dad. And, we'll be friends when you're in your 20s. I kind of use the same line with these guys. I'm not your friend, I'm your coach. And we'll be friends, once you've, ended your eligibility here and you move on into life. And with a lot of these guys that I've been with for so long, the friendship has started to form, but it's still that coach-player relationship. And these guys, it'll be a lifelong friendship once they finish their playing time here. But a lot of guys I'm really, really proud of, and that I know we're going to have success in life and hopefully get a chance to play football for a while.
Charlie, it's part of the game, but does it get any less tough to have senior days and to say goodbye to guys?
No, it doesn't get any easier, because you're going to miss them. I love these guys. I do. I have all these memories of. I'm flashing back right now to one of those, and if Keyshawn sees this, he'll laugh. There was a immature moment with Keyshawn when my first year here. We were at Syracuse, and it was nothing bad, but it was a moment in the locker room where, he was getting to know what I was about. He was in a bad place emotionally, and nothing got fiery. It was just from that moment to what he is now. I couldn't be prouder, and I'm going to miss continuing to see his daily growth, but I'm also proud of what I know he's going to do in life.